Hey everyone, me Kevin here. In this video, we're going to be doing a What's in My Wallet review of 11 credit cards. And folks, this is going to be very comprehensive, but I'm going to keep it concise because I value your time. It's worth noting I have been a credit card enthusiast since literally my 18th birthday. On my 18th birthday, I'm like, the first thing I'm doing now that I'm 18 is I'm getting a credit card. And it should be what you do as well if you are not yet a credit card holder. On January 28th, 2010, I walked into Wells Fargo, got my first credit card. It's not the credit card I would recommend today, but it was an unsecured card with a $300 limit, and I'll tell you, I bought a stick of gum every single week, and I paid that card off every single time it had a balance. And folks, now I've got an approximately 800 credit score. I don't have a perfect 850. That's because I believe you want to use your credit as a tool and not just try to get like a perfect credit score, which implies that you're not really opening new accounts or getting loans or using it. You want to use your credit to build your wealth. Now, while this video isn't about building wealth, it is about helping you consolidate. How do you get around credit cards? I mean, like, I've got so many credit cards we're gonna talk about here. I've got travel cards, I've got cashback cards, I've got store cards. We're gonna deal with everything. So without further ado, let's get started. The most important cards for any household, in my opinion, are not your general rip-off store cards. I've had them all before, the Macy's cards, the Banana Republic cards, you know, the cards that give you like the 0% for a certain amount of time. Stay away from this kind of crap. The cards that encourage you by sending you more coupons for their store. No. Stay away from store-specific cards unless they are for staple goods, okay? This is how you want to separate this, okay? Things that you maybe want to buy, Best Buy, Banana Republic, Macy's, don't have a credit card there. In my opinion, things that you need to buy, it makes sense to have a credit card at two specific stores, and this is very important. Number one, Target. Everyone should be price matching Target and Amazon. And in our household, we are finding that Target is actually extremely competitive to Amazon in some categories, especially heavier things like waters, Monster, shampoo, deodorants. They have very, very good pricing, even nuts sometimes, dry goods, rice, whatever. And we have the Target $0 annual fee credit card because you get 5% every day at Target. This is very simple magic, okay? Very, very simple. Every single thing you buy at credit or at Target with either the Target debit or credit card, I prefer the credit card since you want to build your credit score over time, you get 5% off on. So if you spend $100, that's literally $5 back, free. And I mean, $5, you could buy 3 large hot dogs and 3 sodas at Costco, right? Because I mean, they're still doing the $1.50 combo. But the reality is, Target is willing to lose money to win your business against Amazon. And in my opinion, that's an opportunity to make sure you're price matching Target versus Amazon, especially since Target does, I believe it's free delivery for their card holders or once you get to a certain threshold in your cart. And hey, one of the best things you can do is make sure you're reaping that 5% off at Target. Just make sure you always pay your card off in full. Don't spend money you don't have. The same is actually true for Amazon. You should have an Amazon card. I actually have 2, which you might be wondering, Kevin, how could you have 2? Because you can only have 1 Amazon card per social. And so what we did in our household is Lauren has the personal Amazon card under her social, which we use for personal expenses. That'll be like diapers for the children or toys for the children. And then I have the business Amazon under my social, and so I get 5% off on business purchases, whether it's, you know, TV, like computer monitors or stationery or notepads or pencil, whatever you need for your business, right? Security cameras, I don't know, whatever it is. Now I get 5% off there. So this way, we're always making sure that on things that we need to buy, we're getting 5% off all the time, and it's simple, basically straight cash back. There's no like reward redemption. It's just, hey, here's the cash, spend it how you want. I think with Target, you basically get it off your receipt instantly, which is amazing. That's kind of like the Lowe's card I'll talk about in a moment. With Amazon, you could just apply that money to purchases. A trick here that I recommend, and check with your accountant on this, but one of the tricks that I like to do is if I get a bunch of reward points on my business card, there's nothing to say, and I don't know, I mean, maybe it's wrong, but I haven't found anything on this. There's nothing to say you can't use the actual rewards you earn on personal items. Because see, business items I get the tax deduction on, personal items I don't. So when I get $1,000 worth of reward points or whatever, I use that to go buy some personal items at $0, right? And then it's, you know, I mean, I'm not writing those personal items off anyway, so what the heck, may as well use the reward points for that versus something like a new computer from Amazon that I wouldn't be able to write off otherwise, right? Or that I should say that I would be able to write off because it's business expense. Anyway, Lowe's, because obviously we do renovations and construction, it makes sense to have the 5% off every day over there. So these 3 store cards for us, these are things that places we're going to be spending money anyway, and it makes no sense not to have the 5% back, in our opinion. We just make sure we pay these cards off in full all the time. Now, let's get to the daily cash back kind of cards. And these are sort of your run-of-the-mill cards that don't necessarily have a lot of extra benefits for travel, but we're gonna be talking about travel cards in a moment. So like, I wouldn't use these next cards here for doing a rental car or luggage protection, right? Or whatever, right? These are going to be more of things that like, I just need a general use credit card for paying things like, oh, I have a city permit fee that I have to pay. It's $500. Okay, I want to get 2% cash back on that. Which card am I going to use? Or I have a renovation that has a $20,000 permit and they take a credit card and they don't charge a processing fee. I'm like, what? They don't charge a processing fee? And that means I can get 2% cash back? Hell yeah, I'll pay with my credit card. So there are 2 that I recommend for this. The first is specific, obviously, to Apple users. It is the Apple Card. Every time you use Apple Pay or you tap to pay with like your Apple Watch or whatever, that's Apple Pay on websites or in person Apple Pay, you get 2% back, which is great. Never actually use the card because in my opinion, you only get, well, you only get 1% back unless you're shopping at Apple, which that's 3% back, but that doesn't so much matter. I keep this card nice and safe. It's a nice little titanium card. It feels very nice. I like the little envelope for it as well. It's nice, but there's no point to using it because I would rather use, if I needed a physical double cash card, that's something that gives me 2% back, I'm going to use the Citi double cash card. Now the Citi double cash has stripped a lot of their benefits again, like those travel benefits, but then again, we've got travel cards for that. So I don't love them for a lot of things, but, and they've really crimped down on even some of their purchase protections, which isn't that great. You could read into detail on those. But for things that I don't necessarily need the credit card benefits on, I just want straight up 2% cash back, Citi double cash for sure. Lauren has one for our personal expenses. I have one under my social for our business expenses. That's how we've separated these. So you don't actually need a business card to write something off as a business expense. You just have to make sure you segregate these things appropriately. So that way you could show the IRS that you're actually properly separating things when and if that ever becomes an issue. Okay, so those are sort of your cashback cards, right? So number 4 is the Citi Double Cash, number 5, Apple. This comes after, of course, Target, Amazon, and Lowe's, but only get the ones that you actually need and make sure these are on staple goods, not on discretionary purchases, right? Because otherwise you just get motivated to spend more and then you get reward points for that. It's just a terrible psychology to get into. Next most important card. Mine's a little damaged. This is actually the JP Morgan Reserve card, which has exactly the same benefits as the Chase Sapphire Reserve. Now this card, in order to have this card, which again, this is just a damaged, crappy version of this, but anyway, you have to have $10 million on account with Chase. Don't worry about this, okay? Anybody without any kind of income or minimum deposit requirements can get the Chase Sapphire Reserve. It is probably the hardest card to qualify for, and out of all of the cards that I just mentioned, it's the first one that has a fee. Lowe's, Target, Apple, the Citi Double Cash, Amazon, none of these have an annual fee, and that's really, really important. We want to keep those fees down, and they give you really good cash back. But the Chase Sapphire Reserve card is pretty freaking amazing because if I were to boil this card down into a simple reason as to why to have it, is every time you spend money on travel or restaurants like dining, so Uber, flights, hotels, rental cars, restaurants, you basically get 4.5% back, assuming you use your points towards travel again. Otherwise, it's 3% back. But even 3% back is better than your double cash cards. Why would I use my double cash cards at 2% at a restaurant or for travel or for flights or rental cars when I could get at least 3% back? But really, I'm gonna redeem those points always for travel. I've got like over 2 million points with Chase Unlimited rewards right now, which is really incredible because it's like $35,000 of free travel that I have. I've just spent so much on this card because I love it so much. It's so easy. Travel, dining, everything goes on this, get 4.5% back. But the cool thing that you could do with this is you can actually do what's known as pulling off the Chase trifecta. And this is where you potentially get the Chase Business Inc. card. The Chase Business Inc. card has a $0 fee, and it gives you unlimited 1.5% back, which again, I'd rather use the double cash cards. But, because it's in the Chase ecosystem, if you do the Chase Inc. 1.5% back, and then you get 1.5 times rewards towards travel. That would be 1.5 because you can combine these points over at the reward center. 1.5 times 1.5, that's 2.25% back. So actually, if you do this trifecta set, you could use the Chase Business Inc. on the daily. Take the points that you get from the Chase Business Inc. 1.5%. Put them into the travel rewards program, get 2.25% back on the daily for daily purchases, daily everything purchases. So that Chase Inc. really desirable if you combine it with travel. Now, the Chase Inc. also has certain categories that you can use, like getting 5% back for office expenses or other revolving categories, like sometimes they do gasoline up to certain limits. Well, if you get 5% back, and then you multiply it by 1.5, you're actually sitting at 7.5% cash back. Absolutely insane. You should always make sure you take advantage of those categories. The difficulty here is tracking those categories. And so what I generally recommend you do is you take a label maker. My recommended label maker is linked in the description down below. It syncs up with your iPhone, which is really cool. You just type it in on your phone, hit print, and it spits out. It's amazing. And it's really inexpensive and it's portable. Just go to meetkevin.com/links or go in the description down below and you'll see where meetkevin.com/links is. Click that, scroll down, you'll see the label maker. It's amazing. Anyway, label the back of your card and say, okay, this is what this card is good for. These are the categories. So between June and August, I want to spend, I get 5% back at gas stations or whatever. You do that with the Chase Business Inc. card and the Chase Freedom card. And those are 2 extra cards that you can include with your Chase Reserve, or your Sapphire Reserve trifecta to really maximize travel rewards. And this card is pretty dang good. I mean, not only are you getting primary rental car coverage, but you get 60,000 bonus points if you sign up. And I'm not sponsored by Chase, but that's worth about $900 if you travel. That's really good. It does cost $550 as an annual fee, which is slightly cheap, but you get a $300 annual travel reimbursement, which actually brings the cost down to about $250. And given that you're getting potentially 4.5 to 7.5% cash back, it's actually not that horrible. The additional card member fee is a little rich at $75. Usually what I do with the Chase Sapphire Reserve card here is I just request a duplicate card. And then when you request the duplicate card, you could just hand that to your spouse or whomever. And then now all of a sudden it's kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, we have 2 cards. But again, you're probably gonna be paying about $250 a year for this card. Personally, I find it worth it because of all the extra crazy points that I get above 2.5%. But we could do some easy math on this, okay? So let's say we're talking about the difference between a 2% cash card, a double cash card, let's say, and 4.5% for travel redemption, right? That's the difference of 2.5%. So for $250 to make sense, like to spend $250 to get that extra 2.5% cash back, you have to be spending at least $10,000 more just to pay for having the Sapphire. That's a lot. That's a little on the rich side. So, you really have to be spending a good amount of money to justify having this reserve card and getting those extra points. Now, if you're doing the trifecta, you're doing the Inc., you're doing the Freedom, and you don't have authorized users, you're making sure you get your $300 in rental credits to bring it down to $250, great. You do get priority pass for traveling, but not the best lounges, okay? Just not the best lounges. Not the biggest fan of using Priority Pass. It's the least interesting card that I want to use. And so that brings me to the American Express Platinum card, which you can now get in little fancy designs and such. I don't know if the camera will ever focus on it. Oh yeah, look at that. This is Lauren's card right here. Really kind of cool. I like that you can kind of get it a little bit colorful now. It always used to be kind of bland. But anyway, the problem here is if you have the Chase Sapphire Reserve, it's going to be a real stretch, in my opinion, for you to argue that you need the Amex Platinum card. It's probably either or. You should either have the Reserve, Sapphire Reserve, or the Amex Platinum card. Having both, that's tough. It's a little bougie. I mean, maybe you're making the argument that, oh, well, I want to use it to get into the Centurion Lounge. Well, then just use like the Delta American Express card, which also gets you into the Centurion Lounge, but then gives you other benefits, right? So, you know, we'll talk about this in just a moment. Little bougie, but there is a way you could basically get the Amex Platinum for free. So let's talk about this. So the Amex Platinum is $695. Steep. However, you get a $200 annual hotel credit, bringing you down to $495. You just have to remember to actually book a hotel with this once a year. Label that on the back of your card. Like seriously, add a bunch of labels to the back of these cards. Otherwise, you're gonna get so confused. Additionally, if you put a subscription on it, like Audible, Disney Plus, New York Times, or a few others, they'll give you about $20 a month for those. Okay, well that's decent. I mean, that's another $140 off right there, right? So that now brings us down from $695 minus $200 brings you to $495. Then you get another, oh, I'm sorry, that's actually $240. Let's do the math correctly. Bring you down another $240. That would bring you down to a cost of $255 for this card. Okay, nice. Now that's a lot better. And if you make this your primary card on Uber, for example, well, now you can get $15 per month for 11 months and $20 in December. So another $185 off of that $255 left. Now you're only paying $70 for this card per year. But you could also get a $200 annual credit on top of that for flights that you book with this. So you get $200 for hotels, $200 for flights, and now all of a sudden the card pays for itself and actually pays you. So if you can remember to have the discipline to write down, okay, I've got an Amex Platinum, I gotta make sure I take advantage of all of these benefits, and you have the discipline to take advantage of all those benefits, hey, then this is great. $200 hotel credit, the $240 digital entertainment credit, the $200 Uber credit, the $200 airline credit. The problem is you have to pick which airline you're going to use, and then you actually have to use that airline, right? So it's a little bit specific. And they also potentially give you, I'm just looking at their website here to sort of just remind myself here, $155 Walmart Plus credit, but we personally don't shop at Walmart, so it didn't really matter so much. But if you add up all these credits, or like you use Equinox, right? $300 with Equinox, great, that's awesome. Then this is actually potentially a wonderful card because it's basically free, which is awesome. But you're not spending that money that you would have otherwise spent with maybe the airline cards, or if you make a mistake and you don't actually do this perfectly every single year, it's a little confusing. You know, you don't want to like go out there and spend money just to try to save money that you wouldn't otherwise be spending. That'd be a mistake. So you gotta be a little bit careful with the Amex because it's very, very high. You mess up one thing, you start paying for it. Now here's where it really compares and potentially even competes with the Chase Sapphire Reserve, is instead of giving you 4.5%, you could get up to basically 5% back on flights or on prepaid hotels that you book with Amex. Now that's a little complicated because you have to then book with Amex, and then you're not going to get the hotel rewards points usually, or the benefits of booking directly with the hotel. I generally like booking directly with the hotel. I also generally like booking directly with the airlines when I can, but then again, when I utilize my points over at Chase Sapphire, I'm not booking directly with them anyway. But these are to earn your points. To be able to earn your points, you have to book with Amex Travel. And then to redeem, you'd be booking with Amex Travel, right? For hotels, for example. With the Chase Sapphire, I could go swipe the card at the counter and I'll get 4.5% back, which then I would have to redeem through their website. So you kind of have to double up here a little bit. With flights, you could book directly with the airlines or on American Express Travel. So you can see like the American Express is like, okay, maybe you could argue some of the benefits are a little bit better, but like the card could basically be free, right? The card could pay you to use it compared to the Chase Sapphire, where you're probably gonna be paying a couple $100 a year to have the thing. That already is pretty good. And if you're okay just booking through hotels through Amex Travel, 5x, 5% back, because these translate to about 1-to-1, it's actually pretty decent. So Amex is right there with the Chase Sapphire. They just have these little nuances, like you're not gonna get 7.5% when you do the trifecta over at Amex. So you kind of have to weigh these out to see personally what's best for you. I really encourage that you just pick one of these, because if you're trying to balance both of these, stressful, nightmare, and if something's stressful, you're probably not gonna do it. So then let's talk about the Delta Sky Miles card. So this is a $550 annual fee credit card. That's a little expensive. Really terrible rewards outside the 3x miles that you get with Delta direct purchases, the stuff that you're spending on Delta. I really like it because it gets me into the Delta Sky Club, but remember, it would also get you into the Centurion Lounge, which is really, really good. And excuse me. They also have like free drinks and good food. Like Centurion Lounge is great. There just aren't that many of them around the world yet. But the Sky Miles clubs, these are like everywhere, and in my opinion, worth it. But really, the real value of this, because it is $550 a year, the real value with this card is that you get a free annual companion certificate when you pay your renewal fee. So if I take a $1,000 flight somewhere, I could get a free ticket worth $1,000, and that easily hands down pays for the card for like 2 years. And now no matter where I go, I get basically into the Sky Club lounges for free. So this one, great. The status stuff or keeping status is really, really complicated. I mean, they have like minimum qualified dollars, minimum qualified segments, and it's just like, it's so overwhelming. Segments are like the number of flights you take, miles are how many miles you accumulate, which you can accumulate miles faster if you have status, and then dollars that you spend is how much you're spending on outside of the actual like travel that you're doing or what you're putting on this card outside of this, right? Because every credit card wants to be your primary card. But I'll tell you, it is so complicated that I've kind of just shut down. And the way I look at this is I just say to myself, look, I'll just fly Delta whenever I fly Delta. And if I end up qualifying for $3,000 of minimum dollar spend, I mean, that's easy if you have a bunch of flights anyway. You're gonna hit $3,000. And then you get these miles or 30 segments or whatever, which connecting flights count as 2, which is kind of good to know. If you ever take a connecting, it's actually 2 segments. But anyway, assuming you're stopping once, right? But anyway, complicated. I would say if you could just get into silver, it's good because it starts unlocking your upgrade abilities, your free upgrade abilities. The same is true with your entry for American. Really, really complicated, like to understand the whole status system. But once you just get like the lowest status, you start unlocking benefits. And generally what they do is they prioritize your seat upgrades that are for free basically by not only what rank you are, so like obviously a diamond is gonna get more priority than a silver, right? But also whether or not you have the card. So having the card will give you more priority. So for example, if you and another silver person are trying to get upgraded to first class for free, if you have the card and they don't, they'll give it to you. Kind of cool, especially if the card is free already, but otherwise trying to like fully understand the status systems, they purposefully try to confuse you, okay? That simple, that freaking simple. Now you get club access for you and one other person. It's actually, it's club access. You can bring your spouse and immediate family or 2 guests. But at some point, and this varies based on like the people at the lounge, but they can start charging you $39 per guest that you bring in. And I think that's really lame. Obviously you get in for free if you have the card. So if you're traveling alone, this is great. If you're traveling with a lot of people, this could potentially be a little bit of an expensive lounge to go to. Next card, this is card number 9. It is the City AA Advantage card. It's the executive card. Take a look at whose name is on this card, by the way. It's really cool if you could see it here. Yeah, look at that. Oh, no, it's just not gonna focus, whatever. So this card, I actually got my son's name on it. It says Jack Paffrath right there. You can see that. He's 7 years old. And I'm gonna talk about why I did that in just a moment. There's actually a really specific reason for this. But anyway, the card has a $450 annual fee. Kind of steep again. Admiral's access, like the Admiral's Club access, not worth it, okay? I've been there a few times. Where you could go there when you land as well, just like Delta, not just when you take off, but when you land, you can go there. Love that hack, by the way. But the Admiral's Club, no free alcohol, like the Centurion Lounge. They charge you for some of the food, which I'm like, what the hell? You have rice and beans for free, but you're gonna charge me $10 or $15 for a sandwich? Like, what the heck? Like, what's the point of being part of the club? So I usually feel sad on the American Airlines Admiral's lounges. I don't know, they kind of just, in my opinion, suck. I don't know, maybe just the ones I've been to, they've sucked. But it's like the worst out of all of them is the American ones. Like I will literally go to be booking a flight and I'll be like, oh, American? Can I get a Delta flight instead? Okay, like sucks. Same thing, once you have minimum status with American, you could potentially get these upgrades. Some of the gate agents tell you, though, that you have to actually call to request your upgrade, that it's not automatic like Delta. I've gotten mixed messages on this, but it's really annoying because if you have to call them, so many people are trying to call to get their upgrades, you could be on hold for like an hour. I called them once and I was on hold for an hour and 6 minutes, like super lame. Anyway, the reason I got this is because if I travel with kids, you get up to 8 family members worth of free first bags. So like sometimes when we go to Europe, if we're even flying with American, you know, oftentimes you go to Europe, you're flying like United or something else. But anyway, or maybe even you go to Canada, but then again, you're flying more like United or Air Canada. But anyway, you travel somewhere like New York. Okay, let's go with that. You go to New York and you're traveling with 2 kids, you and your spouse, and let's say your in-laws, 6 people, and a nanny, let's say you got 7 people. Like, if you're traveling with a lot of people, this is great because the free bag alone is worth it if you're checking stuff. Like, I travel alone. I don't like checking in. It's a hassle. But if you travel with family, you're going to be checking bags. Oh boy, and you got a lot of people, it adds up fast. So, talking about $450 a year for this annual fee, but you travel just once, and let's say you're checking in 6 bags, that's $180 per way. That's $380 for free right there, just in bag fees that you're avoiding. But again, you have to actually be traveling with family to use this card. So as usual, when you have travel cards, you gotta actually be traveling to make sense of them, right? So additional card users are free, by the way, and there's no age limit to them. That's why I got Jack one over here, which is kind of cool. Authorized users are allowed to bring in themselves and up to 2 guests. So I purposefully got one for my son, just in case they're like, oh, you can't bring any more people in, Kevin or Lauren. Well, Jack could be like, I'm 7 and I got a credit card. I can bring in 2 people because that's what your terms say, because Kevin actually read the details. And then they'll be like, wow, a 7-year-old just brought in 2 guests. Can't believe they read the fine print. Well, anyway, kind of cool. So just make sure you activate the cards because sometimes they swipe them to check them. Okay, good. You do also get priority screening at TSA, but then again, if you have TSA pre-check, you don't really need that. And you get priority access if when you're checking in with a bunch of bags, you want like the priority line, the card gives you that priority line, like super cool. Then we've got the United card, which I actually have right here. This is the United Club Mileage Plus card. So this gets you into Star Alliance lounges as well, which is great if you travel to Canada back and forth, although that's kind of lame, but at least it's something, right? The Chase United Infinite card is $525. They give you your first and second bag free. So if you travel with 2 people, right, that could be 4 bags if you're packing a lot of stuff. Like if I'm traveling with a mobile studio or whatever and I actually have to check stuff, it's great. This summer, I was on like a $900 ticket with my family. We had like 6 people. We went to Europe and we were trying to fly direct from London to LAX, and it was like $900 per ticket. It was, you know, a lot, but it was economy seating. And I looked at the first class tickets and they were like $10,000. And I'm like, hell no, no way. But then I found out that if you actually had the United mileage card and you wanted to buy a first class ticket with mileage, it was only the equivalent of about $3,000. But then they had a mileage sale going on, which they randomly throughout the year will sell mileage for like 50% off. So I was basically able to get first class tickets for like roughly about $2,000 more per ticket. And so I got 2 of them. And then we kind of like took turns taking the kids up front, which you're not supposed to do, but we did anyway. So we feel like we basically got $20,000 worth of tickets for like $4,000. And we're like, yes, please, thank you. And trust me, on like a 10-hour flight, if you could get the little seats that lie down and like take turns with your family members, oh, yes, worth it. The United Club card, at least it was worth it for us. You know, I realized that's still a lot of money, okay, so it might not be worth it to everybody, but that made sense for us. With the United Club card, you do also get international hotel group upgrades. That's like Holiday Inn. You get status, president status, which with Avis, but I generally don't like to rent cars anyway. And you get primary car coverage if you rent a car. Not convinced this card is worth it unless you're really, again, using those bags a lot. Keep that in mind. The last card, I'm like, also not heavily convinced it's worth it. It's the Marriott Bonvoy card. This is $650. This is insanely expensive. It's an Amex, so it could get you into the Centurion Lounge as well. You do get $300 towards restaurants if you use it once a month. $25 a month is what they'll give you. You just have to be diligent and make sure you use this once a month. So somehow you have to have like a checklist. Did I use it once a month? I don't know if that's worth the stress just to cover the fee of it. You do get gold status at minimum with the card, which is nice because then you get a little later checkout and free internet at Marriott. But then again, how many times are you actually staying at Marriott? You know, I look at like the Hiltons and the Hyatts. Those are really nice as well and oftentimes competitive or better. And if I'm gonna be buying with the Chase Unlimited Travel Rewards anyway, maybe it makes more sense to just have the flight cards and then redeem my points from other travel, like whether it's cruises or restaurants from JPM, redeem those on hotels, right? Maybe, I don't know. But you also get a free night every year that your card renews, so obviously get an expensive night somewhere. So you can get this card to pay for itself by making sure you use it once a month at a restaurant to get that $300 and then getting that free night worth at least $350. That'll pay for the card and having it. But again, am I convinced that that's worth the stress? I don't know. So anyway, hopefully you've learned something here. I'm gonna give you one more piece of advice, okay? And it has to do with this. But first, I just wanna ask you that if you found this video extremely helpful or even remotely helpful, share this with people. Share this with your friends, your family, or anybody you think that is interested in credit cards and maximizing their benefit. I mean, I've just tried to compile a lot of information. I know it's a 30-minute long video, but I've compiled, I think, a lot of information into one video here that should be very, very useful for you. Now, because I use Apple Pay so much, I actually don't personally carry all of these credit cards, but you need them to get into the lounges. So when you have a when you have a travel backpack, you should always have a travel backpack, right? It's the same travel backpack you take every single time. It's a travel backpack that has your backup chargers, cables for your iPhones and your iPads, you know, USB-C, USB Lightning, whatever. And it just has those bare minimum things. Have a credit card sort of Rolodex, so to speak, in it. So that way you just keep all your credit cards in here. So that way you show up at a club and it's like, this is the Delta club. I need the Delta card. Oh crap, I don't have that in my wallet because I usually pay online or Apple Pay. No problem. Got it in the little spinny thing because I always travel with this, okay? Very, very important bonus tip. Again, share the video. Check out the programs on Building Your Wealth link down below. And folks, we'll see you in the next video. Thanks so much. Goodbye.